Hello, hello. Now it's on. Now it's on. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. It's a pleasure to see so many familiar faces and friends of Nour Riyadh. Welcome to the third talk of this Nour Riyadh 2024 edition under the title Building Creative Economies Through Collaboration. I think before we delve into the topic, I just want to talk about the word collaboration. Very briefly, I just want to frame the word slightly. The Merriam-Webster defines collaboration as the state of having shared interests or efforts. So that's the definition by the Merriam-Webster. The Britannica mentions this is to work with another person, group, in order to achieve or do something. And also I would like to quote Aristotle, who says that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So I think with these definitions and this quote, I would like to introduce our incredible speakers of the day. We have Vilma Jurkute, who is the Executive Director of Arcercal, which encompasses Arcercal Avenue, Foundation and Advisory. And she's been in the role since 2012, and she's transforming Dubai and arts and culture in Dubai and the region. So very happy to have you here, Vilma. We have Nawaf Alharbi, who is Director of Strategy and Development for the Miscard Institute. Nawaf is also a very good friend of Nour Riyadh, as Vilma is, and we've been collaborating in projects for some years, so we'll be able to talk more over that. And he's working now in the Miscard Week that will open on Thursday, 5th of December, so thank you for making the time again. Nour Kelani. Nour, he is the Managing Director of Christie's Saudi Arabia, which has been recently established, so we're very happy to have Nour, and I think this is the first panel talk as in your new role, so we're very excited to hear about what you have to say. And we have Ahmad Al-Amri, alias stage name Baloo. We're very happy to have you again, another great friend of Nour Riyadh from the beginning, and has been transforming the music scene before Middle East for decades, but since 2019, when Middle East was established, I think the impact has been incredible in everyone's life. So we're very happy to have you all here today. And the first thing that I would like to ask is what can collaboration look like, or what does collaboration look like for each of your institutions?
Starting with me?
Please.
I mean, collaboration for me, I guess, first and foremost starts from within of the organization. So I think it starts from your team. So this collective of thinking partners, how you develop your mandate, the values that you carry and you follow, and the programs that you develop collectively. So it starts from within, not externally, at least for Cercal. And then, of course, that grows into cultural producers. So placing artists at the center of everything that we do, then that demands an ecosystem. And that ecosystem, in order to grow it, it demands collaboration. I mean, for us at El Cercal, everything is grounded in some sort of collectivism. And I think in this region, we've been somehow critiqued by the West for a very kind of competitive landscape rather than collaborative landscape, which I would like to discuss a little bit, because I think it's grounded in a very formal view of what collaboration looks like. So if you don't have someone's logo, that means you're not collaborating. But this region is grounded in informality. It's really about the people. And if anything, this entire ecosystem was purely built in the form of collaboration. You can see synergies. I mean, when you look at Sharjah Art Foundation's collection, you have so many artists from Al Cercal Art Gallery roster, for example. Or when you think of other museum institutions who collect, who commission, it's through this support ecosystem for the artists and cultural producers that I've seen this region grow. And we've collaborated in similar ways with Nour Riyadh or Desert X in Alula, and of course the Alderia Bayanel, and there will be more that I'm sure we'll mention and talk about. But that informality is something I really wanted to highlight and hopefully talk more with the colleagues here, because, and of course interdisciplinary. I really think that these synergies is what allowed us to become what we've become so far. And Al-Sirkal is grounded in plurality, right? So being active in different industries and disciplines. So I always say it's not where the boundaries separate, but where they meet. And that becomes an invitation and a new condition to be together and to think together.
Yeah, I love that I think collaboration is not only about sharing logos, no? I think there's a lot more of collaboration that goes unseen between different organizations. Nawaf, how does collaboration look like for the Minsk Art Institute?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us, Nour, Riyadh, Miguel, and I really love what Vilma said about collaboration being happening within the organization, being part of the DNA, and one example of that is the way we collaborate with Nour Riyadh, for example, and I want maybe to shed light. For us, collaborating with Nour Riyadh is not something that, an opportunity that we take advantage of. It's we think of it as a fact. Every year we plan our calendars, we have Nour Riyadh, and we know that we're going to do something with Nour Riyadh because this collaboration has been proven to be very valuable. And today, I think collaborations are a necessity for every organization to achieve its objectives at the end. So, for example, Nour Riyadh this year, we are doing a photo walk, an instructor-led photo walk in all of the hubs of Nour Riyadh, and then the photographers are going to have a workshop to edit their photos, especially looking at night photography, and then have a presentation of their work and show the public as well how they engaged with all of the beautiful artworks that we see in Nour Riyadh. And this way we hit so many objectives by including the public, by empowering artists, by activating Nour Riyadh as a platform for accessing art. So for us, the first step is to have an open door and a conversation with all of the key stakeholders, all of the stakeholders. For example, ITHRA, we are in continuous conversation all the time, learning from each other, understanding the challenges. We have so many similar programming, but if we don't hear each other, don't listen to the experiences of one another, we will not be able to progress and have better offerings and serve our beneficiaries in the best way. And it's a journey of learning, and it's a journey of joining forces. And I believe in the next few years, we will see how collaborations as well become a very important necessity again, because you cannot continue funding 100% of your programs. You'll have to find collaborators who you can share, you can share with them. You have so many shared objectives. Let's share also all of our resources to support the ecosystem at the end. So this is how I think about collaborations in general, and we have to remain innovative, all of us, to see how we can be more impactful in our collaborations.
Thank you very much, Nawaf. And I'm really excited about the photo walk that we are doing together, actually. I was thinking of joining, actually. I think it's a fantastic initiative. Nour, how does Christie's look at collaboration? No? What does collaboration mean for Christie's today?
So I think for an auction house or for Christie's, collaborations can be done in different ways. So you can think about having an artwork from an artist from a certain region being at an auction seen as a collaboration, because you'll be giving a platform for the artist's artwork and the artist's name to be mentioned at a prestigious auction house. That's one. Another one is, for example, when we do some of our programs in collaboration with institutions or entities. For example, when we did with the Dar'iyya Biennale Foundation, we helped them with the programs, or we collaborated on the programming together, and which was, I guess, a great example of how can we collaborate on programs. And then the other one was basically doing an exhibition or sharing, doing exhibitions with artists from the region, specifically Saudi artists. An example is the Ahmed Matar retrospective that we did in London, is another example of great collaborations between an auction house and an artist or an institution.
And I think that's an example that everybody here, I'm sure, saw the images and the incredible success of that exhibition with Ahmed in London this past summer. So very happy to have you here and to learn more. And Ahmed, Baloo, our Middle East, you have great collaborations in the music scene. It's also great to have you here because you obviously are not necessarily contemporary art focus, so it's really good just to look into how we can just look into interdisciplinary collaborations. What does collaboration mean for Middle East?
So there's a proverb in Arabic that is very musical, actually. It's يد واحدة ما تصفق, which means one hand alone cannot clap. So taking it to the very basic, simple thought of what is collaboration, when it comes to what we create, it starts with dialogue, it starts with perspectives, it starts with expertise. You might have an idea, but you have zero engineering background, and you need someone to fill your thoughts and ideas with the right information to create your concept. So anywhere from stage design to music production to festival curation, everything is based on collaboration. So it's the way we operate. It's the modus operandi. Basically, every day we are collaborating from the minute we wake up and jump into our calls, and so it's an ingredient. Without it, the dish doesn't work. So, yeah, that's from the Middle East perspective.
No, I think I really like that. I think we're going to have time to look into some of those details on those collaborations. I would like to go back to Vilma now and to ask, since Vilma, obviously Art Circle is based in Dubai, but you have program in Dubai, you have program internationally, you have program in Saudi. How do you balance collaboration with local institutions, your local programming versus the global programming?
I don't view it in the form of a balance, but I think when we began, one thing that was always important to us, and I'm gonna quote my role model in academia, Gayatri Spivak, who has spoken a lot about Western validity. So we were not seeking Western validity. We wanted to really support our artistic community in our context in the way that we saw fit, and collectively really modeled a blueprint for what creative community can look like. And going back to that plural model that is not something that really exists in the West. We didn't tick any of their boxes. So at the beginning, there were a lot of questions. So it really started with this local aspect, and always the premise was to help our artists to still gravitate towards international acclaim and dialogue. So it was, when we view the West, it's not in binary terms, right? It's still in the form of dialogue. And this is where collaborations with different institutions came into play, both Western and regional. And is it, inaugurating Concrete, which became the very first space by OMA in the UAE, with Atasi Foundation from Syria, because it was an important moment in history, and we felt, again, responsibility is not arbitrary, so we felt it was important to send that message, and the way we program has to respond to multiple diasporas that live in the city of Dubai, right? We're talking to plural publics, 200 nationalities that live in the city, but also collaborate with Western institutions like the Whitechapel, like Hayward, Victoria and Albert Museum, and so forth. So, and you can also, I think, notice that in the past decade, at least from contemporary art world point of view, there's been a shift. A lot of acquisition committees for the Middle East now turned more than a decade old. But when we began, this wasn't even a question. It didn't exist. The West didn't view the region as something that is worth collecting or it's important to archive as part of art history. That changed with time. So I do feel that now we have claimed our own positionality, and in a way West is coming after us. I think there is a bit of a different view. There is a more serious view, an interest, genuine interest in supporting the art scene in the Gulf and beyond. And so certainly depends how you define collaboration, but for us, regional and international are interconnected, and really beyond regionalism, we try to dislocate these hierarchies and collaborate with all institutions at equal par. That's really important to us.
So if I understand correctly, you think through the past years there's been an increasing credibility on organizations in the region, and there's more opportunities for us to partner with our international organizations, or more people knocking on our door, or how?
I think they're knocking on our door today. Back in the day, we knocked on multiple doors. So I think there is a bit of a different positioning. But just again, going back to the kind of views that shifted and perceptions around the region, because I still remember when we inaugurated Concrete in Al Circle Avenue, at the press conference, one of the journalists asked me, why didn't you inaugurate with an international exhibition? And I said, that's precisely what we should problematize, the fact that you view Syrian Foundation as not international. So I think we carry responsibility with the kind of collaborations we formulate, the kind of message we send, and the kind of support we can give to each other. And then, of course, that's, south to south, I think is very powerful, but not eliminating the West. It's not in binary terms. That collaboration also exists because it's important to reach the world in different ways.
So now that opportunities for collaboration are more numerous, how do you choose which ones to pursue? How do you choose which partners to partner? Is there a criteria? Is there a strategy? How does Acercal choose the partners?
So we don't believe in visions. I always say that they can hold you hostage. And we have a world full of discarded visions. But I really believe in values and ethos. So this is the driving compass at Al Circle. And in difficult times, it shows, are you going to stand by them or not? And so for us, that extended solidarity for each other, for our team, is really important. And we work with organizations who carry that. That's really how we, I wouldn't say filter, but that's how we feel we align, right? That we all represent the same values and ethos. And then the rest comes from there. Then the rest is actually quite easy. The rest follows. If you have similar mandates and values, it becomes quite easy to collaborate. And I mean, similarly with Nour Riyadh, I remember when we began our collaboration through the advisory 2 years ago, I've seen Nawaf and you and how the kind of leadership and how you deal with your teams It's like we in Al Sirkad. It's grounded in kindness and listening and collaboration. And so for me, these values are important. It's the people. Whom are we going to work with? Because then the rest will come from there.
No, I think the values of our circle are really clear as well through a lot of your initiatives. So I think that's a very, very beautiful answer. Thank you, Vilma. And one more question. Can you give us one example of a successful collaboration that you think will be good to share right now on the topic of this talk?
There are so many. We just even our collaboration with Riyadh, where we brought some of the works to Kuz Arts Festival. I would look also at our recent collaboration in Venice Biennial, which was with Cité des Arts International, which was on Solidarity is Not a Metaphor. So I think what's really important that partnerships and programs resonate with your audience. So a lot of times we plan in advance, and a lot of museums do that. And it's really important that we have these historical, research-informed exhibitions. But it's also really important to resonate with your people. One of the collaborations we did last year was called On This Land, which was in partnership with the Palestinian Museum and Virgil Art Foundation. And we literally, we were building up on the foundations of the research that was already produced by the Palestinian Museum at the time. But we literally put together an exhibition in 3 weeks because we cared to have this for our community at that point in time. And we canceled our programming as it was planned at the time for November because it was post-October 7th. And we were all mourning and grieving the news that we were witnessing. And we felt as an arts organization grounded in community and always thinking, whom are we speaking with? We had to make sure that we respond to that. And so our exhibition opening saw like 2,000 people who came and really emotionally, emotionally engaged and connected with the work. And so for me, it's really important. Whom are we speaking with and what impact that creates? So I would say that was one of very emotional collaborations. And now travel to Bahrain, and hopefully it will travel to other places in the region.
Thank you very much, Vilma. Nawaf, again, we've collaborated a lot, and you mentioned obviously the collaboration with the photo walk. We also collaborated taking the Nour Riyadh apprentices to the 9th cohort of the Masaha exhibition that we can see here, the space at the Miskart Institute of Masaha. So can you tell us a little bit more of your programming and your collaboration with other like Saudi-based institutions as well?
Of course. We have a lot of different collaborations with a lot of different institutions in Saudi, and what we try to do always is to understand how we can bring impact, and all of the ideas of collaboration that comes from any team member at the institute are more than welcomed. We always try to ask them to give us more of collaboration ideas to further impact. So us being a Riyadh-based institution that has a national mandate means that we have to find partners in different sides of the country because we cannot go and it wouldn't be efficient to go and have an entire place and have a satellite of all of our programming in a different city. It's simply it costs too much and there's a lot of resources. So what you do you need to work around that. So one idea that we've worked on is with Ministry of Education as a partnership to activate a program where they bring in students from cities around Riyadh. And these cities, they have no form of arts and culture institutions available to them. So for many of these students, when they visit the Prince Faisal bin Fahad Arts Hall, where we host our programming, it's the first time for them to see an exhibition or an artwork in a curated setting. And the impact that we feel from such an initiative, it's so huge that you always think, how can we continue doing that? How can we make sure that there are other initiatives that would capture similar impact? And we also have collaborated with institutions. For example, Medina Art Center, we have done a shorter edition of Misk Art Week. We call it Misk Art Weekend. We did it at Medina Art Center, where we hosted 2 exhibitions, also workshops, master classes, and a community program as well. And we have learned so much from being there. It's not something that we think it's from Misk to the people of Medina only, but also how we learned so much by existing there, by dealing with the audience and in Medina. We understand their mindsets, and then we are able to make our work more accessible and rounded to connect with all of these different audiences. Also, utilizing digital means in collaboration with different institutions is important to increase the accessibility of art. So there are many different types of partnerships that we have activated in the past, but they always stem from what kind of impact that we can bring through this partnership.
Thank you. And do you feel that through these partnerships, are you reaching to your target audience in different demographics, as you mentioned, for instance, with Medina, or you're reaching other targets that are not, or other audiences that are not necessarily within your target, and by partnering you are actually broadening the reach of the Institute? How can you tell us a bit more about your audiences and how you build communities through these partnerships?
Yes, of course. So, one thing that we have realized is that whenever we define our audience, we are surprised that it's not, the definition is not giving them justice. So, we have noticed in Saudi in specific that the audience have been so rapidly changing and evolving, and that it made our job is to keep up with them, really, because we see the influences, to the younger generation change every day. As a cultural institution, we have to understand all of that. So what we try to do is to offer a content that is accessible in terms of language, relevance of the topic, and opening windows for people to engage with it. And while we do that, we try to be observant and understand more about this audience. One thing that we have been trying to do since 2020 is to have listening tools, especially through our creative forum, where we host a lot of roundtables and have focus groups around the country as well, to understand more about the audiences that we are dealing with, and also doing that through partnerships. For example, we have collaborated with SRMG to activate focus groups around the country. And the main focus or outcome of these focus groups to understand more about how the society is thinking in terms of in terms of cultural components, and what topics they want to speak about, or they want to listen about, or they want to see in exhibitions. All of this is part of our curatorial narrative, part of how we program, all of our initiatives, by listening really to the audiences in different places and through collaboration as well.
Thank you, Nawaf. Is there any other example beyond Medina, beyond SRMG or Riyadh, any other collaboration that you think could be interesting for the audience to delve into today?
Maybe one other example is, and Vilma tapped into a little bit, how we, how institutions from the West are approaching us now. So we have a collaboration with Berlin Art Institute that started 4 years ago, and it was a very simple partnership where we have an exchange residency program. We send out Saudi artists, and they send us artists from their residency. And what happened throughout the years that we had enough artists to have an entire Saudi exhibition made from those artists in Berlin. So we did that in Berlin Art Week a couple of years ago. So it was part of the Berlin Art Week agenda, and the exhibition said Saudi artist in Berlin, which was a very interesting thing for people in Berlin to see in an exhibition space. And the type of reception and how the audience from Berlin reacted, seeing an exhibition entirely by Saudi artists that have experienced the residency in Berlin, was very interesting and eye-opening. And I think that made us double down on our international collaborations and residencies. And now we have residencies in many places around the world in collaboration with institutions and residency programs in Portugal, in India, in Egypt, in Argentina, and in Korea. So there are many residency programs that we are collaborating with on a yearly basis to send out artists and bring in artists. And when we observe what kind of impact would come from these residencies and exchange, it's quite astonishing, really.
I think we've seen more and more presence as well of Saudi artists in international fora and different countries. Now we have this exhibition now, I think in Brazil will open soon, with the Venice Biennale. We had Mexico, we had London with Ahmed Matar that Nour will tell us more about. But I think it's a very exciting time for all of us working in this industry. Thank you, Nawaf. Nour, Christie's was established very recently, and I think since you established your presence in Riyadh now, Sotheby's also follow your lead, and now they are establishing also an office, and they're also announcing an auction for early next year. What are the challenges that you find in Saudi in establishing the presence of Christie and your different business lines?
So for me, when I was thinking about the challenges, I was actually more of a positive challenge. It's just that there's so much happening and there's so much going on in the cultural scene in Saudi Arabia. The biggest challenge is to be able to participate and take part in supporting every single initiative that's happening, whether let's start with Nour Riyadh, to Misk Art Foundation, to Desert X, to the Riyadh Biennale Foundation, to the Museums Commission. There's just a lot happening, which is incredible. It's amazing. But how can I make sure that we're there to support and to participate and, to help with the expertise that we have? That's, I think, going to be the most challenging part, and which I think it will be an incredible problem in the art world for the rest of the world, if you agree with me. No, but
we didn't used to have this problem 5 years ago. I have to tell you. That, but it's really exciting that we do now. Nour, I think for many of us, we're very excited that Christie's is opening here, because one of the components that we feel is somehow maybe less developed is the commercial careers of Saudi artists at the moment, because we have a lot of large commissions. There's a lot of public investment that goes into art and into artists, but we don't have necessarily a very sophisticated commercial and private market around art. So we're very excited that you are opening. It's what plans do you have maybe to promote Saudi artists abroad through the brand of Christie's, or do you have any plans for doing that?
Of course we have plans, but let me tell you something, because I feel like one thing that Christie's is known for is the expertise. Did you guys know that Christie's is over 250 years? I found out that recently, by the way. It's incredible. But when you're talking about expertise and bringing it here, it's like a legacy of expertise and experts and to come into the region to help. There is already a good circle of collectors, let's say, and a good group of institutions. It's just that how can we provide a better platform? So it's going to be more of through talks, few programs, hosting private exhibitions, art-related, luxury-related, and show the support that we can as much as we can. I mean, doing an exhibition and giving the platform, for example, when we did, again, the Ahmed Matar retrospective in the summer, giving the platform in London to show a Saudi artist, and, it was a mid-career retrospective. I mean, it was a big exhibition, and alhamdulillah, I mean, we've got an amazing feedback on it. And I think that's what we're going to be doing. We're here.
I think for us, can you talk a little bit more about Ahmed's exhibition? I think we all saw it online. We see the images now on the screen. Obviously, Ahmed is an incredible, he's almost like a national treasure at this point. How was the journey on just working on this exhibition, and what is the outcome of the show? How do you feel? I mean, was it a successful experience for Christie's? Because it was not for sale, as far as I understand.
No, it was not for sale. That's the other thing, because actually a big part of our plan is that we're here to integrate. We're not just here to, you know, be a selling platform or be a retail platform. There's a lot more layers and depth to it. With the Ahmed Mater exhibitions, it took place in the summer, in the month of July and August, in London at the headquarters. This was a great example of collaborations, because we actually had to work with a lot of different institutions, with collectors from the region, with, for example, Royal Commission of Al-Ula and Arts Al-Ula played a big part of it, because we had the biggest room was dedicated to Ahmed's public art sculpture that he'll be doing in Al-Ula, which is Ashhab al-Lal. We had the sculpture, we had his research papers showing. It was incredible. The feedback was great. Dr. Rida Momni was the curator for the exhibition, and he worked day and night with Ahmed. It was amazing to see them working together, honestly. It was great. The feedback was very overwhelmingly positive, if I can say. The press was great. We had a lot of people attend. A lot of people flew in to see the exhibition. And it was just nice to see the group of people coming in together to give Ahmed an amazing retrospective like the one that he had in London.
I think we all agree on that. I think it seems like an incredibly successful initiative, and we hope to see many more also to follow. I think we have a great group of very talented artists in Saudi Arabia right now. I think it's an incredible generation. So we would love to see Christie supporting them and continue to grow. I believe you also participated, as you mentioned, in the programming of the Diriyah Biennale. What other collaborations do you envisage in the future, for Christie's? What do you have on your plans, and how are you planning to collaborate with the local institutions?
We have few plans for next year. One of them is for the Islamic Biennale, where hopefully we'll be doing a great program together next year. It's not this year, I keep on saying this year. It's next year. That's one way I'm envisioning for next year. There's more that I can't talk about yet.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ahmed.
Otherwise working.
It's working.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
And I think in some of our conversations we talked about how music used to be the side act.
Side dish, yes.
The side dish, thank you. The side dish for many, many years. And I think now, particularly since like Middle Peace, the institution that you helped to found, came on the scene, now music is the main dish, for sure. And so can you tell us a bit more about this journey?
Well, in 5 years, we've ripped off a lot of Band-Aids. We've brought in art in different ways. We've established, for example, one of the examples of collaboration we have from, can we skip to the next slide? Yeah. So in Soundstorm, we established a gallery in our underground zone, which is, we have a bunch of containers that work as Lego pieces, and we build these stages. And with these containers, we have artists come in for months, or the first time it was weeks before, to tag a bunch of containers. And we've grown this gallery over the years, and it's basically something we look forward to every year, to look at the new pieces. In year one, we also had something called a fire garden. We had Fuerza Bruta happening, which is a big kind of interactive show from, I'm going to say, Argentina. Next slide, please. The best and my favorite example of collaboration is what we do with Balad during Balad Beast, because what we do is we project balad on balad. And the way we do it is we work with artists from around the world, showing pieces of balad, the textures, the architecture. A lot of the roundabouts in Jeddah, for example, show up in our projections in surreal ways. So, we're playing a lot with the context wherever we are. The context plays a big role. The next slide, please. For Tahliya, for example, it was a desalination plant in Jeddah, and it's debunked. It's now not functional anymore. And it was we see it from the office, and always look at it and say we want to do something there. And then we just used the outdoor space, and we used a lot of the surfaces of this factory to create this really surreal experience, and something that's going to be torn down, in the next few years. Next one. This was a lot of fun. This is our setup in Al-Ula. Whenever I went to Al-Ula, I always heard someone say, I feel like I'm on a different planet. And so we decided to call this experience Kokab, which means planet in Arabic. And with this, we got to use all of the natural spaces to project, different patterns, art. But the joke is that, we're aliens and we're pretending to be human in Al-Ula. Next one. This is one of our underground brands. Whenever I arrive at the site, I see all of the fixes, all of the lights, all of the stops pulled up, and this is when we just put everything back, and it's all red, everything. And so we collaborate with the color red for all of the Gabu events that we do, and it's something that you guys have to come and see if you're ever in Riyadh during a Gabu party. And then finally, this is where the story of collaboration really blows up. This is our second club in Saudi. It is called Unstable because we took up a stable in the DQ and we transformed it into a club. So we just put the Un in front, and it made sense, especially in the DQ. And what we did is we installed our usual event lights. And then when we walked in, we said, okay, this looks pretty much like some birthday party. How do we improve this? And so we found a studio in Berlin that creates these really beautiful light experiences. They've done a few festivals, Fusion, Garbage, and then they have this beautiful chandelier in a club called Heidi Glun in Berlin. And you're not allowed to take pictures in any clubs, but I took the sticker off of my camera and I took a picture of the chandelier. And it turns out that one of my teammates actually has a personal relationship with the designer, the light fixture designer there. And so when you go into Unstable, the whole club is wired, and everything happens with the music. You don't really notice it unless you really focus, but it's all very much happening in real time, and it's inspired by the music and the movement in the club. And so collaboration is something that we have to do for everything that we create. It's not we don't have all the expertise in the company as much as we like to think we want to get there someday. But we've been working with institutions, local, global, to bring the right experience to our events.
Thank you. I actually think I've been to most of those as well, which are fantastic, I have to say. And I'm really happy that we have Yusuf Al-Ahmad with us today, who was an artist who contributes to Ballad Beast and to Soundstorm with his artwork.
Actually, Ballad Beast specifically, really beautiful work. All of it just, it speaks our culture, but at the same time, it's appreciated by everyone.
How do you see the collaboration in the music industry? I mean, what can we learn in the visual arts or in the contemporary art industry from how do you collaborate in the music industry? I mean, there's so much collaboration in the music industry between singers, between record labels, between festivals, Is there any learning that you think we can take on how you collaborate?
It's an ecosystem, really. You know, a piece of music will never go anywhere unless it's promoted, unless it's visualized, unless it's if you have to perform it on a platform so people can see it. All of that requires a lot of expertise and a lot of collaboration. You cannot imagine an artist succeeding without the tribe supporting.
And you think this is something that we should do more, less? For us, it's like I think.
I don't think it's enough. I think we need to do a lot more. You know, I think right now we're just scratching the surface. But there's so much work to be done with music and art and creativity in general. There's a lot that we can do, and we're not tapping into it just yet.
I actually agree. I think we should. I would love to collaborate more. I mean, we collaborate, but I would love to collaborate more with music. I think music is such an important part of our lives, and definitely of our life in Saudi Arabia today. I think definitely a lot more opportunities for collaboration. I just want to I think we are good for time, but we need to just move towards the second part of the panel. So I just wanted to ask if we should collaborate more, and if we all agree that collaboration is good, which I think we do based on all of these examples. What is stopping us? It's like, what are the challenges that are preventing us from collaborating more or deeper or broader, like more collaborations or collaborations that are more meaningful? What are those challenges? Vilma, we can start with you.
I mean, collaboration or community creation is one of the most challenging. I mean, while it's very rewarding, it's also very challenging, which I think is something we need to also talk about. And this is why I mentioned ethos and values being aligned, to make sure that you can move together at the same speed. But I forgot to mention one of our, I would say probably the most meaningful and challenging collaborations we have ever initiated and led was across 3 continents. It was our global co-commission led by Al-Circle Advisory. Fizah, who leads the advisory, is in the audience in the first row. And so we worked with 3 districts in a south-to-south format, really questioning what does non-Western public art look like today. And it included Kingston Creative from Jamaica, Victoria Yards from Johannesburg, and Al-Circle Avenue from Dubai. And it was really rewarding to also work with Mohamed Shano, whose studio is in Jax. So this collaboration was extremely plural and very challenging because we initiated this very ambitious project where we defined one thematic with Tyrone Bashian, who was a curator of this project, titled The Feral Commons, inspired by Anna Tsing's work from the Feral Atlas, to create context-specific commissions in each of these contexts, while working with urban art projects to conduct CO2 audit. So the intent was to put what we for so long have really theorized and showed an exhibition format around Anthropocene and climate change. How can we actually put it in practical terms? Can we question materiality and emissions prior to commissioning, prior to imagining the work with each of the artists? And there were so many emotional stories that kind of really led us to these results. We just hosted a field meeting 2 weeks ago with all of the participants and the artists to share our learning journey. And really understanding each other's contexts was one of the kind of first elements, because Jamaica and Kingston, just as a cultural district, is very different in terms of their genealogy. But also their environment in terms of economic, social environment, safety. Similarly to Johannesburg. So in Kingston, one of the stories, when we worked with their artist, Camille Chada, we found this abandoned park, which is where we wanted to actually create access and create the commission. And it was fully closed off. No one had access to it. They had to literally negotiate with lords to actually get access to it. And then we met this man called Mr. Manning, who was caring for this park for decades. It was just something he took on on his own will, right? And as we produced the work with Kamil Chada, sadly he actually passed away just a few days prior. And while working with municipality of Kingston, who then really paid more attention to the space, they ended up naming the park after him, Mr. Manning's, right? So these stories that where it can take you, you don't know when you start the collaboration. And there are sometimes challenges that can be quite disruptive, where there are moments you question whether you should continue. But I think you know when you're pioneering something and doing something for the first time, you know you're innovating. And it's never easy to be the first. But this journey has now led us to a new methodology that we will be sharing with fellow institutions in ways that we can all rethink how we commission public work and actually do it with more care for the environment. So grounded practices of care and ethics of care. And so Mohanad was an incredible collaborator and really helped share his knowledge with other artists. And so we're still learning more about each other. But doing something across 3 continents was probably the most challenging thing we have ever done.
And I look forward to reading that methodology. It sounds like a fantastic work that I'm sure we can all learn a lot about. And that work by Mohanad was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I visited numerous times. So that was a great example. Thank you, Vilma. Nawaf, how you think we can start just, breaking barriers, or what do we need to start collaborating more? What is stopping us?
Well, this is a great question, and if we have an answer to it, this will change everything really. But we need to work harder. I think that's a very obvious thing. But I have to say that at the moment, this point of time, we see a lot of organizations in Saudi moving from being a startup into, let's say, into a growth stage of their institution. This means that they have started to structure their work. They have introduced multiple managerial layers within their institutions, and then approval cycles would take longer time, more people, and all of that. And with that, we risk something really important: the synergy that was built based on relationships or based on the chemistry of teams and institutions. And as someone who works in strategies and in upscaling organizations, building organizations, I wish that there was a formula to create a partnership. But in reality, there is not a formula. And what we need to do is, I think, one very important factor is to increase the friction and the face time between institutions. Even if we don't materialize a partnership, but when we understand each other as organizations or as collectives, we have better chance of finding this perfect opportunity to start a partnership. Also, an important challenge right now is that sometimes, because of the KPIs that institutions need to deliver, we think about the short-term collaborations rather than the long-term of a partnership and the strategic partnership. And I think from the experience of leading partnerships also on the institute, those partnerships where we started very small have lasted with us for many, many years, and we ended up growing them into becoming a larger partnership. And those which we were very ambitious at the start, and we didn't take time to build that synergy and understand, well, this is how this organization would orient itself and its objectives, and how we can really find a win-win ground to all of that, allow the teams to know each other, allow the leaderships to know each other. This always helps a lot in building the relationships and making them last and making them more impactful. So I think we are faced on a daily basis with these challenges. But the facts remain that without collaboration, we are not running efficiently, and we're not running in a way where we maximize our impact.
I think this is a great point. I think trust is a very important element of building collaborations, and in the end, organizations are made of human beings, and I think for us to develop this trust, I think this point about starting small, I think could be a really interesting takeaway, because you can start small, develop the trust, get to know each other and the ethos of the organization, and then you can build on that. And I think that's a very interesting point. Thank you, Nawaf. Nour, what do you think are the challenges in general, but also maybe for Christie's or for all of us in building more meaningful or more numerous collaborations?
I think the biggest challenge would be honestly the lack of imagination. I think we need to be more imaginative when it comes to collaborations, whether from the artist to who's managing the studio to as Baloo said, it's an ecosystem. So the challenge is when the collaborations become too basic and they stop advancing or growing as the artists grow and as the art ecosystem in Saudi grows. When I liked what Baloo was saying about the collaborations with the music, and I was actually thinking about an artist who I'm a big fan of. His name's Idris Khan. And Idris actually was working with an amazing music composer on a lot of his pieces, like in the past couple of years. And I believe he was working with one of the composers that works with Hans Zimmer. And this is a great example of why we shouldn't lack imagination when it comes to collaborations. I mean, how did you turn music and composing music into a painting was just very fascinating for me. I think that might be an example of what I'm trying to relate to.
And I think this is a fantastic point. I think collaborations require imagination, and I think if we're not collaborating more, it's because we are not creating ways of just finding ways of that. I mean, finding partnerships and ways in which we can collaborate. No, it's like if we just do the same, we won't find that middle ground. We just need to make sure we get out of our day-to-day and we just think about how we can just understand each other and just collaborate together. So I think imagination and probably resilience as well, no? Because you're also going to find a lot of pushback sometimes when you're trying to create things that haven't been done before.
But can I add something to that? You know, we keep on saying collaboration, and I feel like we're thinking of it from the broader image of from far, which is the entity and the artist, or the institution and the artist. The collaboration starts from the artist's home, at a studio, from him, I don't know, from his mother making him his lunch that day, and from his friends meeting up with him for coffee to maybe brainstorm over an idea, all the way until it reaches an institution or an exhibition. Or it's not a two people collaboration, it takes a village, as the title says. I feel like, right, I don't know, in my head at least, I feel like it's always who collaborated with who partnered with who. It's not just these two people or these two names. It's all the process from the artist studio all the way to when it reaches the institution.
I agree 100%, and maybe this reminded me a lot of how we see the artists in our residency nowadays, especially having international artists come in, and the first thing they look for, who can I collaborate with? Yeah. And we were making a mistake, before at the institute, but trying to understand what kind of discipline artists would identify with. And with a recent survey we did, we found out with more than, I think, 50 artists, only 5% of them identify themselves with one discipline or one practice. Most of them nowadays are multidiscipline. And for example, we have 2 artists in our residency that are working with sound artists. One is working with a kinetic artist. And what you see at the end is this beautiful scene of collaboration between different disciplines that started with breaking barriers of thinking and crossing a boundary and the comfort zone.
Talking to each other. Just need to talk to each other.
We need to talk to each other more.
Yeah.
Ahmed, would you agree, or what do you think? Is there anything else to making more and more meaningful collaborations happen?
I think it's a really loaded question, to be honest, because what are we talking about? Are we talking about a single piece of work? Are we talking about a project? Are we talking about an initiative? Collaboration looks different in all of those boxes, right? I zoomed out with the question and I went to business model and I started to think, how do we create this in the intention? I think it's the intention. When you put intention in the idea of whatever I'm working on, my intention is to collaborate with someone to help me enhance whatever this is. If this is a corporate project, something huge, and something that requires 3 different entities to jump in, maybe when you're thinking of the concept, you can list who can I collaborate with to make this a better project. If you're working on a piece of music, for example, you need to think about skills that you need. You need to think about. So for me, it's just the intention, and then with the intention comes the other part, which is the dark side, the ego. The ego needs to go away when you want to collaborate, right? And that blocks a lot of opportunities. And I'm not talking about just artists. I'm talking about companies, institutions, government organizations. There's ego also at play. And once that kind of moves out of the way, then the opportunities flourish.
And to build on that, how could anybody in this room collaborate with Middle East in contemporary art projects? You mentioned some incredible initiatives.
Your questions are loaded tonight.
I'm sure the audience is interested. No,
look, it's our door is open. We have so many different opportunities to work on. From art to fashion to stage design, again, scratching the surface where there's so much to do, so much we can do.
Thank you so much. I think we're running out of time, so I would just like to do a round on the panel, because I think there's a lot of our panelists have projects coming up. So I would like maybe if you can just speak about your next projects very quickly before we close. What's next for Arts Circle? I think definitely Quos Fest, but I'm sure you have things before that as well.
We have so much, but I think it's happening again, going back to collaboration from within, right? So through Al Circle Arts Foundation, we have a residency program, our research grantees sharing their projects, and really adding to the existing knowledge through their work and practice. Al Circle Avenue, which is grounded in collaboration just because but we've been really molding this community with pioneers in the arts for the past decade, more now, almost 100 of them, where we mold new ideas that become blueprints for the future. And we have very active programming in Al Circle. I think we produce more than a couple thousand events every year and more than 100 exhibitions collaboratively. So it's always in process, right? I think we always say that institutions or we as a cultural district are not synonymous with the built environment. And I think through Al Circle Advisory, we've been really privileged with the trust that we've been given and given a seat at the table with so many incredible partners, not only in the Gulf, but beyond now. We are working internationally, and I think we take that as enormous privilege and respect and trust to be able to actually influence a new development through culture, and is it in the form of a strategy or imagining a new space with culture in it, or through cultural programming in ways that we can engage and connect with communities in different contexts, which can be quite challenging, but always is very extremely interesting. So I think it's intent, like our colleague has mentioned, but it's long-termism, it's trust, and it's just going back to the values and ethos that we collectively share. And so there's a lot coming up next year, and I invite you all to Quos Arts Festival, but of course also to Al Circle Art Week in April next year. And we also hope to see you in different cities, from London to Paris, with different performances and events that we continue to put together through collaboration.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Vilma. Nawaf, I think you have Miss Art Week coming up soon.
Yes, so we have the 8th edition of Miss Art Week, and we'd love to have all of you, obviously, to come and visit Miss Art Week. It's at the Prince Faisal bin Fahad Arts Hall, and it would run through 6 days from 5 to 10 December. And in these 6 days, we'll have, as you know, as always, a lot of offerings. We have 4 exhibitions that we're putting together. And one of them is a showcase for our grant and grant recipients. And I think Sarah Al-Mutlaq, who's part of the next panel, she is a recipient of the grant. She's here with us today. And we have also the art and design market, which will have 92 local artists displaying and selling their work to the public. We have a small art fair with 11 local art galleries. We have an art book fair with 17 publishers, art book publishers. So it's going to, there's a lot of content around, there's a lot of things to see, and we have also our master classes in collaboration with 11 different organizations from universities, from the States, all the way to East Asia. And you know, I think one day is not enough, so try to book, you know, two days to come and see everything. Yes, if you have any question about it, more than happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Miguel and Nour Riyadh as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Nour, is there anything from Christie's that you have on the line, or we need to wait for news in a few?
We have a few things coming up. I was just trying to remember what we actually agreed on and finalized a few days ago. No, so the first thing that actually we'll be working on is our collaboration for the Islamic Biennale program. That's coming up in January. And we're going to be doing, I think, 2 or 3 interesting programs with them. And then we're going to be bringing highlights from international modern and contemporary artists, as well as the modern and contemporary Middle Eastern auction highlights that will be coming to Saudi. There is one exhibition that's on the horizon. Okay. And that's what I can talk about now.
Well, thank you very much. Very excited about that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Ahmad, again, the next few weeks are incredibly busy for you as well.
Yes. As soon as the calendar says December, our lives get chaotic. And next week we have XP Music Futures, our music conference over Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right here in Jax. Which is day and night programming. So during the day you come in, attend panels, attend workshops, network, learn, grow, and then at night you dance all of that off. And we basically have a showcase of a lot of the regional and local brands with their lineups. And then after that we have our big storm. Soundstorm is the weekend after, and it's going to be epic.
Well, we can't wait. Well, I would like to ask the audience just to thank our incredible panelists. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining this talk and for coming to Nour Riyadh. Please enjoy all our hubs until the 14th of December. And it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.